Troy from Zia Comics here, and I have another event I'm going to review for you guys. The Las Cruces Beer Fest, lcbeerfest.com. They set up on the plaza across from the store, so of course I'm going to go check it out. They had different levels of entry, from general admission up to VIP. And what happened is you get a certain amount of tickets with each one of those different levels of entry. Those tickets you go to trade in at one of the 240 some odd breweries that were set up. And you trade that ticket in for a 1 or 2 ounce sample of whatever beer they have, or beers, to see what you like. So, I mean, it's a good time. It was hot out and humid out, so that beer tastes really good. And then after the sun went down, it was from 5 to 11 p.m. So when the sun went down, they had some pretty cool entertainment, which I'll show you a clip of here in just a minute. So without further ado, let me show you what I did. Remember I told you the store was right across the street from it? I wasn't lying. There we go. Over the enclosure, you can see Zia Comics. Great idea. They had these QR codes set up so you could buy your tickets in line if you didn't have them already. And they had all the pricing and what came with those tickets right there on the sign. Speaking of signs, welcome. And here's a big sign with all the sponsors. And man, there were a lot of them, let me tell you. The lines to get in were pretty long, but, for a beer fest, about what you would expect. Here's the line from the other side, from the inside, what it looks like. It's stretched all the way back down the plaza. Here's what you get, your sample cup and your sample tickets there. You trade in for your 1 ounce samples. All right, I'm going to scroll all the titles of the beers that was available because there was so many, around 200 and some, while I'm walking around and showing you all the vendors set up. They had everything from beer vendors to food vendors to other merchandise. I believe there were some T-shirts as well right there. You could go over, buy your burgers, your lemonade. They even had a Greek food set up. Like I said, this is pretty early in the day. The crowds hadn't got there yet. But let me tell you, anytime you have any kind of alcohol-related event here in Las Cruces, people show up. They show up big time. Because by the time we got over to start getting in line for our free samples, the lines were across the plaza for some of the beer samples. It was crazy, and people were waiting in the sun. There really wasn't any kind of cover for the lines. Just people were standing out in the sun waiting for their 1 ounce or 2 ounce sample. This here's the VIP tent. You could enter to win these lounge chairs for your man cave. But here's the lines. The ones here at the end were kind of hidden. People didn't really see them as well. But eventually, they caught on. I got in quick on a few of those there at the end before people caught on that at the end there was one more beer vendor giving out the samples. Now, behind the beer samples along the road, which they had shut off, of course, it'd be dangerous otherwise, you had regular vendors set up. These guys weren't getting nearly the crowd that the beer vendors were, because why would you go to Beer Fest and go and look at kitchen knives? I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good fit to me, but they paid their fee, so they're going to set their booth up. Over here, I will start at the beginning. Here's the lines starting to form. I told you this is still pretty early, around 5:30. So the lines by the end of the night were all the way across the plaza. You had people just waiting forever to get their beer samples. You could go to some of the other beer vendors on the side and get a full beer, but here they can only give you samples. I tried to trade in multiple tickets to get a full cup, and that was a no-go. You could only get the samples from these lines. I guess it's the way they accounted for it. I told you later on, after the sun went down, there was some entertainment. They had some music up on the stage, and then they had the fire show. The stuff I showed you from the Beer Fest is pretty early on in the evening. We got there as they opened. And the stuff in between, we kind of partook of all the samples and the food and just the good times that was going on. So there's not a lot of stuff in the middle. And then toward the end, when the fire performers came out, we got a little bit of a video of that. But let me tell you, LC Beer Fest was a great time. And if you like beer, then this is the event for you. You saw there was different levels for entry, which came with different sample tickets. And yeah, I highly suggest that you check it out for yourself.